Okay, boys and girls, what are we learning in writing today? We are learning that writers plan their nonfiction plant books by accessing prior knowledge and breaking that knowledge into sections. Okay. Before we get ready for writing today, let's make sure you've gathered all your materials. Okay? You need paper, at least 3 sheets, pencil or pen, and something to add color. You don't need that, but if you have colored pencils, markers, crayons, that would actually help. I have my pencil kit here with some materials in there that's going to help me plan my project, and it's going to help me write my book. Okay? So once you've gathered your materials, we're going to start into the lesson. So once again, we're learning that we're going to plan our nonfiction book by accessing our prior knowledge and breaking that knowledge into sections. So let's see. It's this word prior knowledge. Prior knowledge, there we go, there's your brain. Prior knowledge is a fancy way of saying the stuff that you already know that's in your brain, okay? So we're going to think about what we already know about plants and write a book about it. So here are some questions to help you think. Is there a flower, a plant, or a tree that you have in your house or near your house that you like to look at? Okay, so maybe you know lots about roses. Maybe you know lots about trees. Or maybe you know lots about sunflowers. Or maybe you know lots about the vegetables that are in the grocery store, and you know lots about planting them. Okay? So what are some things that you might know a lot about and that you think you could write a book about? Okay? And then once we do that, once we pick a topic, we've learned a lot about plants in our reading lessons. Okay, we've learned about plant parts and how seeds grow into plants, and maybe you can use that information and put it into a book. Okay? So let's think about a topic first. I'm going to share my topic with you. My topic is going to be, and I've thought about this, when I was a little girl, I always helped my grandma plant a garden. So my book is going to be called Grandma's Garden. And in this book, I'm going to fill it with all the different kinds of fruits and vegetables that my grandmother used to grow in her garden, okay? And that's going to be the title of my book. What's the title of your book going to be? Okay, so you can fold your paper like this. I just had paper and I folded it in half to make my book. You can also use a notebook. And if you're using a notebook and you have a notebook like this, you can just write your title into it, like I am. All right, and you can write your title on the first page. And then as you write and move on, you can just use future pages, okay? Let me share some ideas that other friends have thought about, okay? Some friends I know that I've spoken to have a book called All About Trees. So if you feel that you know all about trees, that can be your title. Maybe you know a lot about roses. If you know a lot about roses, your book would be All About Roses. Okay, so whatever your title is, that's up to you. Okay, my title is Grandma's Garden, and that's what I'm going to write about today. Okay, so once we do that, the next thing that we have to do is, okay, now you have to think about how you want your book to go. This means what sections or headings are you going to put in your book? Here are some questions and ideas to get you started. What does blank look like? So I could say, what does my grandma's garden look like? What does blank need to survive? If you're writing about roses, you could write, what do roses need to survive? Another section could be, how does blank grow? So I could, if you're writing about trees, you could write, how do trees grow? And if you're writing about roses or trees, you could say different kinds of roses, or I can say different kinds of gardens, or you could say different kinds of trees. That could be a section in your book. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my book, Grandma's Garden, and I'm going to think about the questions. So the question, what first page was, what does blank look like? So my first chapter is going to be, what does a garden look like? That's my first chapter. What's your first chapter going to be? You can write it down. Okay. My next chapter is going to be, what does a garden need to survive? What's your next chapter or section going to look like? Next, it's going to be, how do the plants in the garden grow? That's my next chapter, okay? And then finally, I'm going to write about all the different kinds of plants in the garden, okay? Different kinds of plants in the garden. So, boys and girls, did you see how today I made a title for my book, okay? And then after I made a title, I thought, using the knowledge that I had in my brain about plants, I thought about the different sections my book would have. And then I made one section B, what does a garden look like? I made another section B, what does a garden need to survive? And then another section is, how do the plants in the garden grow? Okay, and then my last section was different kinds of plants in the garden. So boys and girls, this is your job for today. Your job for today is to write a title for your plant book. Your job for today is to write 3 sections. So it says, I will write section headings for my topic, at least 3. Okay, so you're going to name at least 3 pages in your book. And I will begin to sketch and write information into each section. So that means once you've made each section, you can start to go into it and you can start drawing pictures, or you can start to write some words. And pictures are a really good way to help you get started. So what does a garden look like? So on this page, I might just draw, I'm not going to make a huge picture, but a small picture of what a garden would look like. And I'm starting to sketch, okay? I might do it in my pen or my pencil first and then go back and add color to it. Okay, so I'm gonna have the dirt, and I might even label it because that would add even more information. And then I'm gonna have flowers, and then I'm going to add, my grandma always had poles to hold the plants, poles. So you see I'm starting to add information into a quick picture, okay? So if you can do that for every section, that would finish today's writing assignment, okay? Thank you very much, boys and girls.